Echa yashva badad ha'ir abasiyam. Sitting alone, a glorious nation. Ha'isaka almana. We are badad, we are alone. When we mourn, we feel what it's like for a moment to be alone. Years ago, I lost a brother. And at the end of the Shiva, I came into the house and people were coming over and they wanted to say it's going to be okay. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give a nachama to your family. And you know what I said to myself again and again? Don't tell me anything. I'm alone. You can't understand my pain. It's one of the reasons why somebody who is an Avelut sits in a different place. The people who are there and they're going to be Menachem Avel, you don't know what they're feeling. You don't know pain. To be alone is the worst. Hein am levadad yishkon, you're by yourselves. Klal Yisrael, you see how America's turned on you. You see how Iran is about to get weapons. You see, you're a nation who sits alone. You think Rahmanut, you think, wow, people in Harnof were killed. Now everyone's going to feel bad for us. No, that's a 24-hour news cycle. That went away very quickly. Nothing lasts. You're a nation that sits by yourself. Nobody cares. And you have to feel it. You know why? It's part of your avodah to feel alone. Because the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed for sinas chinam. And when you hate the other person, you make them feel all alone. So you're going to feel alone. Mida keneged mida. You're going to know what it feels like to be bullied. You're going to know what it feels like to be without a shidduch. You're alone. Hein am levadad yishkon. Feel the pain of the next person. And if you don't, you're going to feel what it means to be alone. You have to mourn. You have to think for a moment, what does it feel like to be without a shidduch looking for 10 years? And the moment you feel it, you pick up a phone and you make some phone calls for them. Hey, Na'am levadad yishkon. You're a nation who feeling alone is the worst thing. The Gemara in Kiddushin says that for a woman, tav lemesiv tandumi lemesiv armalu. It's better to be with anyone than to be alone, to be by yourself. So what are we doing? Everyone should be mekabel on themselves to work at least the one shidduch. Why not? We're so involved in business. We're so involved in everything else. But shidduchim, people who are alone and they don't have a place for Shabbat. It was announced that I have Shabbat.com. I want to tell you something. There's going to be something called the Shabbos Project coming up. I like it, but I'm not in love with it. You know why? Because that's only 1 week. That's only 1 week. And there's going to be a lot of dust that's kicked up. And we're going to clap for ourselves. We're going to say, yes, we baked challah together. We had a Shabbat together. But what about the other 51 weeks of the year? There are people, I want to tell you, last week, not this Shabbos, last Shabbos, we had 20 Gerushim and Gerushot at the house. 20 people who were divorced. Many of them brought their children. You know how many of them are alone on Shabbat? Do you know? I'm going to tell you something. Nobody knows this. It's devastating. I think about it, I go crazy. You know, last week, there was a young lady who committed suicide. It's a famous story. A young lady who committed suicide. She was off the derech. The blame was going back and forth. It's her fault. It's not her fault. It's the community's fault. Do you know what I'm talking about? You heard about it? Can I tell you something? You know, I did a little research. 2 years ago, she signed up for Shabbat.com. That means she had a Yurugurei Tshuva 2 years ago. And I looked into her account, and she made 3 requests to go to somebody for Rosh Hashanah. And nobody said yes. And I looked into her account, she didn't get 1 invitation. I go crazy from this. Yeah. You want to blame? We don't need to blame. But we want to look in the mirror a person like that, a neshama that's crying, should not be invited one time? Imagine how lonely she must have felt. She was lost and confused, and now she's making an effort, and nobody, and if you can't say yes because you're busy, you're out of town, say, but I will find you somebody. I'm not going to hope that somebody else finds you somebody, because you won't be alone on Rosh Hashanah. You won't be alone without a shidduch. You won't be alone with nobody visiting you in the hospital. You won't be alone in your job search because you can't find a job. We're a nation that can't stand being alone. And when we're complacent and we say, it's okay. Katim, badim, groups. You're your group, I'm my group. You know what? We're not a bunch of groups. We're all alone. And says HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the Beit HaMikdash is when we're together, when we accept each other. And when we stop accepting, that's a reason to cry bitter tears. It's a reason to mourn.